Welcome back. With us this morning to take us through the newspapers are the academic and author Joanna Williams and the journalist Jake Harrison. Good morning to you both. Let's kick off with The Independent, and you first, Joanna. And this is talking about Boris Johnson insisting that a no deal will be wonderful. He was very optimistic yesterday, wasn't he?
He certainly was, and my guess he's probably being a bit more optimistic here than most people who voted for Brexit, and I was one of those people. I'm still very pleased that Brexit seems to be happening, and clearly Johnson and the EU leaders now are gearing us up for the prospect of a no deal. But I think even the most optimistic Brexiteers are aware that it won't be wonderful, at least in the short term. There will be inevitably some challenges and some problems in the months to come, if indeed a no deal is what we get here. But I think what Johnson does do quite successfully here is just push back against the constant negativity that we still get in relation to Brexit. I mean, we made the decision to leave the EU 4 years ago now, and to look at the way some people seem to be carrying on, particularly on social media, you think we are still rehashing the same boring old arguments that we had 4 years ago.
It's not about the negativity to Brexit, it's about the handling of securing a deal. That's where the criticism has come in, and in terms of leadership as well, and his diplomacy skills.
Absolutely, although it's really interesting reading that front page of The Independent there, because certainly the impression that you get from that article is that Boris Johnson is reaching out and wanting to set up phone calls and visits with the leaders of European countries, with France, with Germany, and he's being pushed back. He's being told that he's not allowed to make those calls. The impression you get is that Johnson is actually doing everything he can to try and secure a deal, and the EU are now throwing up obstacles in the way of this deal, certainly any deal that might be remotely favourable to Britain actually taking place.
Jake, let's have a look at the Mirror, should we, and our Babs.
Yeah, so dear old Babs, who sadly passed away on Thursday. So her heartbroken husband has called on the Prime Minister to keep his promise to improve dementia care after the star's death from Alzheimer's. So Scott Mitchell urged the government to be true to their previous promises and invest in more into care. It comes after she met the PM in 2019 to discuss more action to tackle Alzheimer's. And Liz Kendall, Shadow Care Minister, said we need reform that takes dementia care seriously, or this problem will only get worse.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like she's going to have a lasting legacy when it comes to dementia care. The impact she's had is quite remarkable.
Of course. I mean, she was a television legend, a part of our lives. I mean, the PM, Boris Johnson, said after her death, she has been a part of all of our lives. She has been a part of my life, and she touched so many people with her incredible on-screen charisma and presence. And let's hope that more action can be taken to deal with Alzheimer's in this country. The PM spokesman did also say that we want to make this the best country to live in with dementia, and we are committed to tackling the issue.
Joanna, take us to the Mail, and there's a specific warning for Londoners about shopping, Christmas shopping ahead of the holiday season and potential movement into Tier 3.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of rumours going around and a lot of alarm about rising COVID case numbers in London. And the rumour certainly seems to be that London will be heading into Tier 3 next week. And speaking of somebody who's currently in a Tier 3 part of the country in Kent now, I can confirm it is grim. There's nothing nice about living in a Tier 3 place at all. But I think one danger, I was in London yesterday for work, and it did seem to be very, very busy. But I think one problem with announcing tier changes is that people are now rushing out in order to have a final celebration, in order to do their Christmas shopping. There seems to be a growing sense of panic that if Tier 3 does come to pass and these restrictions will come into place, then people want to get out there and have some fun and do their shopping beforehand, which it does make me wonder whether anybody on Sage or anybody even within the cabinet has any experience whatsoever of human nature nature of what people are like, that you could pick any random person off the street and say, this is what we're planning to do. And they'd say, well, great, we'll rush out and do our Christmas shopping and meet our friends over the course of this weekend. And I think actually having a few more people who are in touch with the reality of human nature sitting on some of these committees would be a real advance.
Yeah, I mean, you do wonder why people just don't do the majority of their shopping online, though.
Well, but try to keep the high streets open as well, aren't they, and all that business?
Exactly. I mean, one of the points it makes in this Mail piece is that apparently £1.7 billion will be spent in the shops over the course of this weekend. And that's a phenomenal amount of money. And it really plays a huge part in keeping our economy afloat. And if we don't put that money into our shops, then we're looking at very serious economic consequences.
Jake, to the Telegraph, what are they saying about school closures?
Yeah, so in a very uncertain time for the education sector, schools were last night threatened with legal action by ministers amid growing fears that many will close early to actually reduce the spread of coronavirus among teenagers before Christmas. So the Telegraph goes on to say that at least one council has told some schools it would support moving to online learning for the last week of the term, and secondary schools in London and the South East are expected to tell parents that they will close early. So it's a very uncertain time for schools. We've had obviously exams have been rescheduled, and it's come at a really awfully bad time of the year, like an awkward time where people are trying to get ready for Christmas, and kids are travelling back to their family homes for Christmas. So it's certainly uncertain.
It is, isn't it? But it's very difficult to know what is the right decision here, because often it's parents that want to get their children out to school so they can, keep working. A lot of schools and teachers seem to want to move to online learning. Obviously, you can't keep everybody happy with this.
Well, this is the problem, I mean, I think, my personal opinion that is, online learning is the way forward, but as you say, we can't keep everybody happy, and each different school has a different way of working and a different way of doing things, and some feel that they should they obviously shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be obviously risk getting fined, but we'll certainly have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But technically, if they move to online learning, they're not actually closed, are they?
I don't know.
It's a bit of a...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, my son's school has moved to that, and they're not closed. They're still learning online. Scotch eggs, Joanna, in the FT. I must admit, I've never actually had one.
Of course you haven't.
I haven't.
Ooh. You don't know what you're missing out on.
I'm going to seek them out now, though.
I liked this story because I just think that subliminal advertising clearly has an impact on me. I'm embarrassed to admit, because having heard so many stories about Scotch eggs over the course of the past week, and all the debate about whether a Scotch egg counts as a substantial meal or not, I found myself absolutely craving Scotch egg. And the first opportunity I get, I will be eating a substantial number of Scotch eggs.
Yeah, but the idea that they're even being discussed as a substantial meal, of course they're not. I mean, ridiculous.
I don't know, never had one.
Depends on the size of
What's
it.
the largest egg you can get?
Ostrich, isn't it?
Well, maybe that's substantial then, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but there you go. Well, that would be substantial, to be fair.
I'm going to seek out a Scotch egg.
Just Gillian to always go for the biggest. Jake, in the Telegraph, the Rolling Stones royal treatment.
Yes, the legendary cash cows that are the Rolling Stones, the wrinkly rockers, whatever you want to call them. The Rolling Stones are collaborating on a drama series about the band's formation with the scope and depth of the Crown writers. So the script for The Stones is being overseen by Nick Hornby, the author of Fever Pitch and High Fidelity. The work will be based on the anecdote from the band members, including obviously Mick Jagger, Ronnie Wood, Keith Richards, Charlie Watts, and will just feature a few stories about the band's history and legacy. So it seems that the Rolling Stones are still continuing to rake it in.
Yeah, honestly, they're a clever bunch for making the money. I'll give them that. I will give them that.
I mean, well, the combined net worth of the band is estimated to be over £500 million. They're still touring. They're still putting on big shows. They're still releasing albums, for goodness sake. So,
Wow.
even
500 million. Definitely, they look up longevity in a dictionary and their picture would be there. Thank you both, Joanna and Jake. See you in the next hour. Welcome back with us this morning for their second outing to review the papers of the academic and author Joanna Williams and the journalist Jake Harrison. Morning again to you both. Starting off with you, Jake, and the Express, talking about gunships to guard our ship. These are the gunships that are standing by.
It's standing by indeed, yes. So as Brexit trade talks continue between Britain and the EU, this morning, Express are running a story, an exclusive. A former head of the Royal Navy has said that Britain needs to be robust in protecting its fishing waters. I mean, there is still a big gap in the fishing waters between the EU and Britain, and it seems to me like we're taking tough measures here to protect our industry and our national resources. So some may say, is this a bit extreme? Setting up obviously gunships to protect our fish, but others may say, well, it's actually quite necessary. So as talks continue.
It's not that different to normal manoeuvres, though, is it? Is it being written up a little bit?
No. I think, yeah, perhaps. I think, you could on say, it is a bit extreme here. I mean, we are trying to take back full control here of Britain as talks continue. So, I mean, it's extreme, but is it essential,
OK, Joanna, to The Guardian, scientists warning, well, it's sort of a bit obvious, really, but, about Christmas gatherings and being careful over Christmas, even when the restrictions are eased a little.
Yeah, I think everybody knows by now the importance of being sensible, and everybody knows to take coronavirus very seriously. And we all want to protect our loved ones and not put them at any unnecessary risk. But I do think these scientists have to be a little bit careful. Some of the rules that we've had coming out, or some of the suggestions from scientists, have been frankly ridiculous. The idea that we should eat our Christmas dinner outside, for example, or open our presents underneath a tree in the garden, or that we should postpone our Christmas celebrations until June. Well, many people live in flats and don't have gardens at all, never mind with a table and a tree in for opening presents and eating Christmas dinner outside. And I think we also need to be realistic about how people actually go about living their lives. And I think we're quite frankly sick to death of this micromanagement and this level of instruction into how we should behave. Are they going to tell us what time we should get out of bed, when we should open our presents? And it kind of reinforces this infantilization when they say, if you don't behave yourselves over Christmas, then you'll be locked down again in January, as if we're all kind of naughty children.
Yeah, but it's a fair point, isn't it? And we speak very regularly to Dr. Bharat Pankani, and when we asked him about this several weeks ago, about the idea of easing lockdown restrictions over Christmas, he said absolutely not. If you do that, you are going to see a surge in January.
But it's human nature. We've had a really horrible year, and people want to see their loved ones. And actually, that's very important.
Forgive me for interrupting, but yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, they do. But if it's going to come at the cost of lives, we need to be made aware of that, don't we?
I think people are very, very much aware of this now, but I think also we need to think about the quality of people's lives. Certainly, I've got elderly relatives who are thinking this might well be their last Christmas, and you know what? They really want to see their grandchildren, and that's kind of a very, very sad state of affairs, that they think they might be prevented from spending their last few months alive, from being able to see friends and family. And I think we really need to think about what makes life worth living and the quality of life that people can have. And the fact is that loneliness and depression are also major killers of people as well. That mental health problems that are caused by being isolated from your friends and family for month after month really takes its toll on people's mental health.
Jake, take us to the Sun. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, steps up, literally. Is he working out? What's the story about?
He is. Yes, he is working out. So obviously, as the Prime Minister is obviously trying to get things sorted out with obviously Brexit talks in the EU, the Sun have got a picture today of the Prime Minister working out. He's shaking. He's dancing. He looks in his typical jolly spirit of his. And so you know, if he can stay mentally fit and physically fit, then hopefully he can you know, get talks over the line.
Oh, he's doing it in a suit though. That's not the best outfit.
No, to me, if it was me, I'd have some, you know, some shorts and t-shirt, a bright pair of trainers, perhaps. I wouldn't go exercising in my suit. Certainly not.
It's not just a photo opportunity, surely not.
No.
He has been trying really hard to lose weight, though, hasn't he?
He's lost over a stone, hasn't he?
Because he's very aware that, you know, being overweight can be a problematic issue when it comes to COVID.
I think so. Yes, yeah. I think he's, you know, I think when he met his lovely partner, you know, she got him a sharper haircut, you know, a slimmer physique. So, you know, yeah.
Oh, I know his hairdresser.
Do you?
Actually.
Oh, really?
Kelly. Morning, Kelly.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, so there you go. Let's have a look at the Times, Joanna. Look at a lack of lockdown support for parents.
Yeah, I think this was a really serious issue, and I think it's something that we're going to be seeing the consequences from, sadly, for many, many years to come. This is about parents of children in state schools who have been phoning up private schools, inquiring or moving their children into schools in the private sector in the hope of having a better standard, better quality of education for them. And some of the statistics that are coming out are really quite shocking. In the Times article here, it says that 74%, so that's almost 3/4 of private school pupils during the first lockdown received pretty much a full day's remote education, so online lessons, lots of teacher input, compared to only 38% of pupils in the state sector. And obviously, this is not to say that all private schools were brilliant and all state schools were really bad during lockdown, but there were clearly these huge disparities in the experience that children had. And I think for me, there are two things that are really, really sad about this story. One is that we are coming to the end of a decade where some of this social inequality was actually being overturned, where more parents were actively choosing state schools as the best option for their children. And it's really sad that this is now coming to an end. It seems that parents who can afford it are now opting back into private schools. And the second sad point, I think, is precisely that point, that this is a choice which is only available to parents who've got the money. For private school fees, you're talking tens of thousands of pounds potentially for each year. And obviously this is an option which is available to a tiny proportion of parents in this country. And I really think education is one of those things where it should be equally as available and to an equally high standard for all pupils, irrespective of their parents' income.
Jake, the Times, staying with the Times, talking about rail networks being shut down on Boxing Day. They always do attempt rail work during the Christmas period, don't they? It's nothing new.
Well, I mean, it's nothing new. No, it's a really concerning issue here for the travel sector. You know, probably one of the worst times in the year to travel. When we're all going back to see our friends and our loved ones. Up to 20 companies are going to be suspending it and halting services. So it's going to be real chaos this year trying to get to and from it. It seems to be like snakes and ladders here. We're sort of going 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We're going up with progress. We're going down. But yes, the vast majority of rail network will be shut down on Boxing Day. Some more travel chaos.
Yeah, potentially so. Let's just finish off with The Sun, Joanna, and the headline I had to read 3 times before I got it. Gatto Blaster.
So this is taking us back to obviously the very serious topic of the Brexit negotiations, but it's good to see that at least, if no one else has, then the headline writers have had an opportunity to have a bit of fun about this. Macron apparently making quite a few references in one of his speeches yesterday to cake and his reluctance to give up his share of cake. And so we're now referring to Macron as the Gatto
he said
Blaster.
that he will not be sharing his Gatto. Jake and Joanna, thank you very much for taking us through the papers. Welcome back. Time to take you through the newspapers now with academic and author Joanna Williams and the journalist Jake Harrison. Welcome back to you both. Let's start with you, Joanna, and the Telegraph and the story about families being banned from visiting loved ones in care.
Yeah, it's a very sad story. It's another consequence of the coronavirus pandemic. We had at the beginning of this year really the scandal of coronavirus being spread throughout care homes, which was an incredibly appalling state of affairs. But I worry that in seeking to tackle that problem, we've actually created another problem, which is an epidemic of loneliness in care homes. This article here is reporting on a survey conducted by Age UK, which says that 70% of people have not been able to see loved ones in care homes since the start of the pandemic. So that's 9 months now, and 9 months without a visit from your loved ones is an awful long time to go, especially if you're suffering from dementia or illnesses such as that. It's also highlighting the fact that although digital technology is great, we're clearly using it now, and something that young people are very, very familiar with, that it's not a great substitute for elderly people in care homes who are really seeking that contact, face-to-face contact with their relatives. And like I said, I think it's just really important that in seeking to solve one problem. Clearly, care homes needed to take precautions. Clearly, security needed to be ramped up. We needed to protect people who are resident in care homes. But like I said, I think it's just we have to be very careful that in solving that problem, we don't go from one extreme to the other and create new problems. And I really hope that whether it's through testing or through the vaccine or through just some slight alteration to procedures, that elderly people and people in care homes can have visits from their relatives this Christmas.
Well, there has been some rollout of rapid testing to enable that to happen, hasn't there?
There has, but clearly it's not gone far enough. Like I say, with 70% of people polled still not having seen their relatives, there's still clearly a lot further that we need to go. And like I say, I think you can't overstate how difficult loneliness is for people who are in care homes and just elderly people generally to have to deal with. I think younger people, take it for granted that you just pick up your phone and you can communicate with people, but I think it's not always that straightforward, and I think this is a real problem that we need to deal with.
Jake, let's have a look at the Sun, should we? And yet more problems for British Airways.
Yes, bad news for BA. Xmas strike fear, which could cost the company millions of pounds rather. I do apologise. So British Airways cargo staff will strike at Heathrow from December the 25th until the new year, which the announcement has sparked real big fears amongst the UK's supply chain over the festive period. The Sun did report last month that the union did ballot cargo staff over pay cuts, and they have been urged to get back on board as we head into the Christmas period, which it certainly looks very difficult for the airline.
Yeah. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse for airlines at the moment. You wonder how they're going to pull things back in 2021.
Yeah, very, very difficult time for them. The Telegraph, Joanna, and The Crown, still in the news. Olivia Colman saying, of course it's fiction. Stupid. I said that bit.
I love this story too, and as you suggest, Gillian, this is something that's been rumbling on ever since Series 4 first came out a few weeks ago now. All these kind of reminders to us all that it's fiction, or this debate about whether the series should come with some kind of health warning to prompt us all. And two of the stars of the show have stepped in this week. Josh O'Connor, who plays Prince Charles, and now Olivia Colman, who plays the Queen. And they're speaking out particularly in response to comments from Oliver Dowden, the Culture Secretary, who also chimed in saying that these warnings should come into effect before The Crown's aired. But I think Josh O'Connor and Olivia Colman are really making the point that, well, first of all, of course, it's fiction. You know, we know that this is not a fly-on-the-wall documentary. We know that it's based off some historical reality, but nobody knows the private conversations that took place behind closed doors. I mean, clearly the scriptwriter's imagination is filling in the gaps there. But more to the point, they're saying that the Culture Secretary, his job should be to defend the arts at the moment. The arts are have really also been threatened this year, have suffered. Theatre, live entertainment, even film, television production has really struggled with all the coronavirus restrictions. And it shouldn't really be the Culture Secretary knocking or finding excuses to be critical of television production companies. He should really be playing a role in defending the arts.
To be fair, I think that is unfair. I spoke to Oliver Dowden yesterday, and that it is produced in his constituency, and he talked about how proud he was of the great production values involved with it, but just raising a bit of concern that some people will be watching it and think this is what happened, which is a fair point, I think.
I think some people will, because the fact is mixed in with fiction.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Sir Tom, even? Jake?
Let's do it, yes. So if there's one man this year that deserves a rest, it's Captain Sir Tom Moore. He is a national treasure, and he's treated himself to a fantastic getaway in sunny Barbados. So he's gone there. It's a destination that was on his bucket list, and he tweeted a very smiley photograph yesterday aboard the plane bound for the Caribbean. And, it's a really nice story to wake up to, because he's put in so much work this year, for the nation. He's really inspired so many people during a difficult time. And he did say
God bless him, I was going to say. Sorry, we've run out of time. Jake and Joanna, thank you very much for taking us through the papers. Good to see you this morning.